So just starting in the beginning, why did you choose the field of medical science? Where did you study?
Okay. I think I fell into it by accident, or it wasn't a lifelong sort of ambition. It's something that happened very quickly. I used to work in a bank. I used to work for Westpac, and at the time I was looking for a bit of a change. I worked for Westpac, State Bank of New South Wales. I'd been studying accounting, or an associate diploma in accounting at the time, and it just looked like my career path was heading in working in the financial sector.
Yeah.
Because back in those days, if you worked for a bank, it was a job you were really married to. You got low interest rates. You had like a check account that actually paid interest. All these little things. But then as it became more competitive, you didn't get those benefits. And I sort of realised as I was getting older, there was less and less opportunities because they sort of get rid of you as a young teller and stick you somewhere at the back, and it wasn't as exciting. So I saw like the first biotechnology course that was advertised at the University of Western Sydney, and it was a mix of medical science, biotech, a bit of sort of an industrial aspect to it, and tied through that was also accounting, because the reason I gravitated to that specific degree was some of my accounting credits from TAFE would have counted towards it.
Okay.
So otherwise I would have had to have, I wanted to have a TAFE degree. I wanted to have a degree in business first of all, and so the fact that it was sort of a combined medical science and a business degree.
What was the crossover? What was?
I think the crossover was it was actually offered in the Faculty of Business. It was offered in the Faculty of Business, and about 2/3 of the subjects were, started off with basic biology, basic statistics, then it went into molecular medicine, genetics.
Interesting. What was the hardest part, did you find, not like, well, at uni, but also just in the career so far?
I think the hardest thing is to sort of trust the industry and sort of assume that you're going to get a job, or to know that you're going to get a job. So I went through a path of finishing the biotech degree, then doing my honours in science and my PhD in the same field. And so a lot of that time you're wondering about what sort of grants you'll be attaching yourself to in the future, whether your future will be in Australia or overseas, because it's always great to sort of do a postdoc overseas.
Did you travel at all?
I didn't, because one of the biggest challenges was that I was wanted to buy a house in Sydney. I was engaged at the time when I was doing my honours, and got married during my PhD, so I had kids during my PhD, and trying to convince a bank to lend you money when you're doing your PhD. That's a challenge for any scientist, I think, to establish themselves while they're studying. And because of that, I guess I couldn't travel overseas. I had to be flexible. I had to change adapt to different types of different scientific roles. I've worked as a climate change scientist. I've worked as a protein scientist. I've worked in cancer research, and even packaging science.
Do you find that kind of fun, because you don't get stuck in one area? It's not, not that you'd get bored, but it's, as you do it for so long, it's nice to have seen different areas of it, or would you prefer to specialise?
In the end, I've taken my path, and for a start, just living in Sydney is great, but I get to, I guess exposure to a lot of different projects enables me to run sort of large collaborative approaches to a certain scientific problem. So in this case, paediatric children's cancer. I look after a large collaboration that involves getting the most promising research out of the labs of medical research institutes like this, and getting into early phase trials at the hospital. So it involves sort of using all my experience with working with different types of scientists, different types of medical specialists, oncologists, to help get that sort of move from the lab to the bedside, and that's called translational research. So for the last, say, 8 to 10 years, my role's been involved in getting R&D and new discoveries in labs into actual practice, whether it's designing whether it's drugs or medical devices, and doing the first in human clinical trials. I'm not a specialist at any one of them. I rely on the expertise from oncologists, But it's sort of like having an approach, whether it's you're running a program with Gantt charts, or just using your knowledge of how different specialisations can work with each other. So in my job, it's often introducing, say, a certain type of surgeon with a certain type of, say, an interventional radiologist who haven't worked closely before, or getting a vascular surgeon to work with an oncologist for the first time to explore an opportunity to develop, say, a medical device.
Do you think it's a fulfilling job, like this side of the field, like the research side of it's pretty fulfilling?
Yeah, look, it's fulfilling in terms of it's just close enough to the technical side. I guess one of the regrets is as you become a senior scientist, or you progress from your science degrees, that you get less and less hands-on. I really miss the days when I had my own bench, when I was doing my own, had my own cell cultures growing, and I was testing, different sort of R&D approaches towards a problem, and it was great being mentored by somebody who could give you advice or let you, run with your own idea for a while. Whereas now it's sort of like I don't get that time on the bench. Every now and then, when say a contract runs out, I take on a new role. I try to inject myself, but I really enjoy getting back into that. But eventually, you end up sort of looking after budgets, looking after grants, and sometimes it can feel, unfortunately, like you're running a milk bar or a hardware shop because you're at that end of a research project.
Do you have like a story, like a favorite story, or something that you've worked on or worked with, like that's gone on to do something really big that's been inspiring? Yeah, look, one of my favourite sort of accounts is I was developing technology to purify blood products, and I completed my PhD in that and was working towards a publication. But at the same time, another opportunity arose to use that same technology in the fertility business. So you've probably heard of, I think, IVF Australia. We found that by using this process of preparative electrophoresis, we're able to isolate the most productive sperm in small fractions, and then provide this technology to some of these clinics. And I remember it once, just as I was leaving that project to start another role, there were 7 successful pregnancies from that. Wow. And it was a total, sort of the hard work of developing one area of application was completely transferable to another application, and it was just one of those things. It was really unexpected, and in fact it's now probably the more successful application of that technology. So yeah, so those sort of things were, when I look back to it, I was involved in some of the preclinical trials of that process, and yeah, it was, I never thought I'd ever had any involvement in the sort of the fertility aspect, but it's been. Cool. This is kind of going back a little bit, but you said you had kids when you were doing your PhD. How was it balancing family and doing the higher education? It's
really hard. I think initially studying business, you want to, I guess your motivation is to have a comfortable job and a career in business. Success often links with financial independence. Science could be either. The very best scientists, apply themselves to fields that probably aren't profitable. But if they're very good and they're applying for grants, they can always sustain themselves and their projects. So to have kids as well and have to school them, have to have a mortgage, it's sort of balancing your concerns with sort of a positive attitude. But if you really like what you're doing and you're sort of enjoying that struggle to first of all to achieve your research goals, you're always competitive, so you're always able to find a niche where you can be funded, or a private company can pay you, because you really attack some of those scientific needs on the basis that there's a need for this to be solved. Unless you guys have any other questions, I just think the last one is,
would you do anything differently, or what suggestions you have to us who are just starting out in that line of work?
I guess I always think I would have been a better sort of a medical scientist if I'd, for instance, taken subjects like biology at school. So I hadn't studied biology at school. When I finished university, I enrolled in an engineering degree. So once again, not much biology. Then I worked in a bank, also not much biology. So my real state, if you have an inkling that you want to do it, go early and plunge yourself into it. Whereas I guess my story is, it's never too late. But I just remember, I wish this was like, basic knowledge for me. And my advice is, if you've got an inkling that you're going to be a medical scientist or a researcher, go with your gut feel early. Don't leave it a little bit late like I nearly did. But
you made it.
Yeah, I'm happy with all the opportunities I've had. Yeah.
Great. Any other questions, or covered everything?
Covered everything. We have lots of footage.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thank you so much.
If you've got any other questions you want to re-ask, you just let me know.
I'll give you a call if you have anything.
And I'll try to wear the same tie and shirt.